Asked if we can stand for invocation and pledge of allegiance. Bow in an attitude of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for the night of rest. Thank you for this opportunity. Lord, lead, guide, and direct us that we might serve our fellow citizens. And Lord, may we do it with honor, integrity, professionalism, and true love for our fellow citizens. Thank you for this beautiful day. Lord, lead, guide, and direct us, we pray in thy name. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Good morning again to everyone present this morning. I'd like to officially call our meeting to order this September 19th, 2023. First on the agenda is the review and approval of the minutes for September 12th.
Motion to approve.
A second.
Okay. Ready to vote? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, thank you, 5-0. Next up is Commissioners' reports and comments, and Commissioner Wagner.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Welcome. Got the Women's Commission over there. I always give them a shout out. We're gonna hear from them in a minute. Got Health Department here. We got all kinds of people here today. But anyway, was able to attend Remembrance in the Park last week. I want to thank staff for everything they did to put that on. It was very solemn and very, very nice event. So thank you again for that. And also stopped out at the Aviation Museum for the logo reveal for the stadium baseball team. I want to thank the Aviation Museum for hosting that. I mean, if you haven't been out to the Aviation Museum, it's somewhere you might want to stop sometime when they're open, which is usually publicized pretty good on their Facebook page or their website. And the logo reveal was very well attended, and it was a nice event also. Appreciate all that. And I think that's it for me. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Kiefer, go next.
Yes, I just have one thing. I'd like to call attention to an article on the front page of the Herald Mail that I thought was interesting. We have a local resident, Kenneth Bladen, who is turning 100 years old on October 12th. His wife, Edna, is 95, and they were married August 30th, 1947, and they just celebrated their 76th wedding anniversary. Keys to a long life. They ate a lot of bean soup, they say, but they quit smoking in the 1960s, and they don't drink much. Keys to a long and happy marriage: they consider themselves to be equal partners, equal votes in decisions that they make, and neither one runs the show. I think that's a great reminder that we have some longevity in our community, and hopefully that trend is just getting longer. And with residents and people in general living longer, that comes added responsibilities and need for care that I think in local government we have a small role in that. So I just think that was a nice story, some good lessons to pull from there. Eat lots of bean soup and equal votes in your marriage.
Drink
So
a little bit.
congratulations to Kenneth and Edna Bladen.
Thank you. Commissioner Harvey.
Thank you, President Barr. Couple of things coming up on the 23rd and 24th in Smithsburg, STEAM and Craft Show Days. That's a great event. I hope everyone can come out and participate in that. And then more business related, September 21st, the comprehensive plan public hearing, Mr. President, in Schaefer Park in Boonesboro at the Community Center. That's at 6 p.m. on September 21st, and then September 25th, another public hearing for comprehensive plan review at the Washington County Free Library. That's on the 25th at 5:30 p.m. That's right downtown in Hagerstown on 100 South Potomac Street. Last week, I did meet with citizens assisting and sheltering the abused, and President Barr, you were there and made some nice comments, appreciated that. That organization called CASA is organized and resourced and active in supporting and advancing the interests of people that have been domestically abused, okay, whether it's financially or physically or emotionally. So they do good work, and it was a good session, and we had a lot of representatives from across the county to hear what they are doing and what their goals are for the future. The Board of Elections held a public hearing last week to review where the early voting sites may be, and they were looking at primarily 2 sites, maybe a 3rd site, which is going to be optional. There was a good public turnout, and we're looking forward to hearing their decision here coming up very soon. We hope that it is going to be focused on getting as many people within easy access to the early voting sites, and they consider all the factors to include the expansive geography we have in our county. My recommendation to get the most people covered within a 10-mile radius for 3 sites would be the Virginia Avenue site, Hancock, and Boonesboro. Those 3 locations combined provide the maximum coverage for voters to be within a 10-mile radius. The state's calculation, when they go to 3 sites, limits that to a 5-mile radius for each location. And I would disagree with changing the calculation, Wayne. When you go from 2 to 3, why reduce it from 10 miles to 5 when you go from 3 to 2? That disadvantages the decision-making when you're looking at outlying areas like Hancock. And that's a disadvantaged community, and they are very far from the early voting sites, and I would like to see a site out there. But that's my view, and I testified at that along with about a dozen other people who made their comments, and there was attendance of about 30 to 40 people, which was a good showing for a public hearing. Lastly, just one last thing, a happy birthday shout out to not retired, but veteran Frederick Smith, who was a sergeant in the Korean War. He turned 94 years old Sunday, and he entered into combat in July of 1950, Wayne, and he was a part of a company of about 190 soldiers that disembarked in Korea in early July 1950, and he was one of 2 who survived that combat tour. A very lucky man, but also unlucky for what he had to endure and what he had to see during his year plus in Korea. And with that, I close. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. Commissioner Klein, good morning.
I attended the Muddy Mamas event down at the Ag Center that benefited Girls Inc. Commissioner Barr, your daughter came up and soaked me with mud. Anyway, but a great turnout, and that's a great event for that organization.
I'll put her up to that. Yeah.
I would believe you did. But also, congratulations to Washington County Master Deputy Jake Demers. He was recently nominated and elected as Maryland Deputy of the Year. Congratulations to Master Deputy Jake Demers. I also attended a remembrance in the park. I'm going to thank Tom Brown and all those who participated in that event. It was very solemn. It was emergency preparedness for all aspects of our community for this month. And I also attended the logo reveal for the flying boxcars out at the Aviation Museum. How unique it was to have the logo being the flying boxcars, but yet there was a real flying boxcar that was built in Washington County as the background for this event. And I also attended the Claire Barton groundbreaking down there at Park Circle. A lot of people were in attendance, and it'll be a nice tribute to her memory and what Claire Barton also did in this community. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Klein. Yes, a very busy week. Started out last Monday and Tuesday with very solemn remembrances of 9/11 attack, and very patriotic. Boonesboro reached out and had a parade on Monday evening, and then Tuesday evening, many of us were at the Hagerstown City Park for the annual Remembrance in the Park. So a very heartwarming, patriotic week, if you will. I also attended the stadium unveiling. It was, as previously mentioned, hats off to the folks that who founded and run the Aviation History Museum. It is just absolutely phenomenal. Their dedication, their hard work, and the things that they've pulled together over the last 20 years are just rather incredible. Some of the artifacts and full-size planes that have been donated and or purchased and brought here to our museum, and the things continue to grow upon themselves. When they find out you have a certain plane, then there's other areas across the country that kind of look out for you and help out with acquiring other interested items, if you will. So start mentioning names, I'll get in trouble, but those gentlemen that run the museum and founded the museum are just very dedicated, and they give up so much of their personal time for that venue. It's heartwarming. Yes, and the Claire Barton unveiling, our local artist, Tony Mendez, is working on that, and again, it not only represents our history, but it also represents our current, I mean, the artist, the caster is someone from our own community, so it's quite a nice venue for our community. A couple items in upcoming events have already been mentioned, but this Thursday is United Way Day of Caring, and I also Thursday morning at the same time as the United Way kickoff breakfast is the Washington County Christian Prayer Breakfast, and I think, Jeff, we're going to split up and kind of catch those two events. As mentioned, the comprehensive plan is this Thursday, the 21st, 6 p.m., Schaefer Park. Also, Thursday at 5 o'clock is the Chamber of Commerce monthly bash at the Arc of Washington County. Sharpsburg's Voluntary Fire Department 80th anniversary banquet is Saturday the 23rd, 6 p.m. And also has been mentioned the evening, maybe it wasn't, the evening commissioners meeting is in Clear Spring, October 17th at 6 p.m. So make sure commissioners, we get that on our schedule. So anything else to come before us here this morning? Any reports or comments from the commissioners? Hearing none, we'll move right into staff comments. Michelle?
I'll be brief today. I did attend the Washington County Remembrance in the Park last week at Hagerstown City Park in their emergency service tribute garden, and this was a tribute to our fallen heroes. It was well attended. The next meeting is September the 26th. This afternoon, the county commissioners will have a joint meeting with the golf course board at the Black Rock Golf Course, and we will also have a grand opening ceremony for the newly renovated golf course clubhouse. So if you like golf, I would encourage you to visit our new renovated center. And at this time, staff would like to recommend that Rachel Souders be appointed as the Director of the Office of Grants Management at a grade 16, step 1, with an annual salary of $73,382 and a start date of September the 18th, 2023.
Is that a vote, right?
Yes, I need a vote on that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion is second on the floor. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other staff reports at this time?
No, I don't have anything else.
Okay. With that, we'll move into citizens' participation. And if you This is an opportunity for citizens to comment about an issue or issues of county practices and interests. This is not an interactive dialogue or question and answer session. It is solely time to hear citizens' comments. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes or less, and please state your name and address for the record. Any citizens that would like to participate today, please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Mary Herringa, and I'm the UNISERV Director for the Washington County Teachers Association. Our address is 18047 Oak Ridge Drive in Hagerstown. And today I am also going to put on my community member and parent hat for a little bit. So that address is 18 Springfield Lane in Williamsport. First, from the UNISERV side, you all should have received an email from Carol Mowen, WCTA President, regarding the WCTA crab feed that is coming up next week. This is an event open to the community, and all of the proceeds go to the WCTA Scholarship Fund. You can purchase tickets by calling the WCTA office at 301-797-7682, or by stopping in the office. I do have a few tickets with me today if you would be interested in purchasing one. Scholarships are awarded to the child of a current WCTA member to help with college costs. This year, during the new teacher orientation, we had the pleasure of seeing one of our former scholarship winners return to Washington County as an elementary school teacher. For some added entertainment, you can come watch me, a Midwesterner, learn how to eat crab, because it'll be entertaining, I'm sure. So speaking of the Midwest, I'm going to switch hats and put on my parent and community member hat for a moment. As you know, my family and I recently relocated to Washington County from Iowa. One of the main reasons was education. I work for the union, my husband works for WCPS, and our son is a 5th grader. Most of our life revolves around education in one way or another. We lived and worked in Iowa for over 10 years and had to watch the education system be negatively impacted by lack of funding and many other things. While we lived in one of the top districts in the state, the education my son is now receiving in Washington County far surpasses what he was receiving in Iowa. School funding is a little different in Iowa and is controlled by the state and the local school board. I watched year after year a state and a school board with increasing reserve funds choose not to fully fund education. It has caused many educators and their families to leave the state, and I'm one of them. Students aren't getting the resources they need, and staff are not getting the compensation they deserve. As a parent, I always want to provide a better life for my son, and that meant moving out of state. When I saw the curriculum and opportunities he would have here in Washington County, I shed a tear or two. However, that won't continue if we choose to underfund our school district. That's underfunding our students and the staff that work so hard to educate our children. We already see incredible educators leave our county for neighboring counties, and I worry that other families will soon follow. I urge you to do what needs to be done to fully fund our school district. As the UNISERV Director, I invite you to visit our schools and classrooms to see the magic that's happening. You can contact me at the WCTA office and we can get something set up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
That chair's kicking everybody's butt today, I don't.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, staff, commissioners. Thank you for your service to the community. Under old business, I checked with Lowe's recently regarding the Citizens Emergency Preparedness Day. The panel of 3 assessors did not seem to know if or whether it had happened, if or when. I suggest we do a documentary. I've attended this event 3 times, and I was quite impressed. And each time there were special demonstrations. One time they had a specially trained canine. They had fire engines, helicopters for the children to inspect, and it was very family friendly. I think we should do a documentary on this. You know, the parking lot was full, and it was the only venue. and it would be great for our shut-ins. Maybe you could apply for a grant from Phillips 66. I did ask them for 2 seats and 1 vote on their board to be shared by me and my daughter. I would certainly vote for it. 2, International World Peace Day is supposed to be September 21st. If you haven't scheduled a celebration, we could maybe schedule it for the end of October. I suggest a 10-day celebration. In World War I, they did it for 1 day. 10 days would extend that, and maybe then we could concentrate on rebuilding our countries internationally. I'm ready to help you secure dams up north. I gave a list of requirements, primarily securing my family. I am going to need a proper parking place or an $80 a month parking allowance. Most other unfinished business has been documented or tabled for now. New business. The ball field is progressing very slowly. I was hoping they would have some fall ball and have it ready by now, but, you know, these things happen. I do need to know if there are any other demolitions currently scheduled and listed, a list of the current zoning agenda. Please save me the written Freedom of Information Act request. The last time I did that, I was retaliated with serious intimidation and some excommunications. Maybe just leave it at the desk with a security officer. Please increase foot, bike, and general patrols in the downtown area. Lastly, on a more personal note, I would like to say I appreciate the prayer this morning. You know, when my daughter was young, I taught her the traditional Our Father, the dinner prayer, and I decided we should make up a prayer for the end of the day prayer. First, starting to give thanks to the Creator and all the blessings we receive, and to pray for the will and the strength to carry out the Creator's will. Then we asked to be held in the safety of the light, and next I suggested special intentions. And that was anybody that needed praying for. And along the lines of education, my daughter started praying each continent, all 7 of them. And I thought, this is applied learning. She just prayed for everybody on the planet based on what she's learning in school. Back a while ago, I suggested that the Maryland flag looks rather conflicted with 2 different themes, and maybe it might be good to consider a new flag. What I'm thinking now in honor of International World Peace Day is that I don't know if we have a flag for the Americas, but I think it would be nice if we had one for our North America, Central and South America neighbors. Our country has always seemed to be in somewhat conflict, but we do need to get along with all of our neighbors. Something along the lines of maybe a pledge to it. We could create a contest that we pledge allegiance to the flag of all of the Americas and to the people for which it stands, one unified continent under the Creator who loves us all. Something very generic in honor of the International World Peace Day. So thank you for your consideration. That Maryland flag is traditional, but maybe we could make a continental flag. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any other citizens' participation?
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Laurie Krasnowski, address 10820 Archer Lane, Williamsport, Maryland. I'm with Stonehouse Urban Winery and a commissioner with the Women's Commission. This morning, we wanted to give a brief update on activities the Commission for Women and introduce our current treasurer, Amber Mowry, with the Commission for Women. Members of the Commission attended the Remembrance in the Park ceremony and were particularly touched by the remarks given by our County Administrator, Michelle Gordon, and we thank you for those. The Commission's Government Committee is currently working on an outreach with partners in the community to fully understand and present ideas that will combat human and sex trafficking in our area. We joined Commissioner Harvey in a meeting with Meritus Medical Leadership that was particularly fruitful and rather inspiring, and we're looking forward in that direction. We are working on meeting with Capital Women's Care and hosting our state's attorney in our November business meeting.
And good morning. I am Amber Mowry of 14934 Falling Waters Road, Williamsport, Maryland. I was a speaker at TEDx Hagerstown Women last year, and the title of my talk was Living with Focus Follies. As a mother of 4 boys, a business owner of J-Dog Junk Removal and Hauling, as well as the Overwatch thrift shop located at the Hagerstown Premium Outlets, and a volunteer for several nonprofits within our community and boards, I was able to bring my ideas and life hacks to encourage women to be successful with all of the things that we juggle. This year, 5 women from the Washington County will be featured. Melissa Noel, CEO of Noel's Fire Protection, Dr. Gloria Murray, a counselor and current adjunct professor at Hagerstown Community College, as well as local author Cherish McMillan, a digital transformation executive Melissa Drew, and Ellie Harvey, a student, aspiring songwriter who Commissioner Harvey knows very well.
The Commission for Women is excited to see these aspiring women take the TEDx stage. We would also like to announce and begin prompting an open town hall style meeting on January 10th at 6 p.m. We want to invite and encourage women in Washington County to attend and share their concerns, achievements, and ideas with the Commission for Women. More information will be shared on our website and social media, wccwmd.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, other citizens' participation this morning? Hearing none, we'll go on to the agenda is Washington Goes Purple.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm Vicki Sterling, co-chair of Washington Goes Purple and director of behavioral health at the Washington County Health Department. Today I have with me.
My name is Terry Tweed. I'm here representing the Washington County Free Library located at 100 South Potomac.
So as you know, Washington Goes Purple is an initiative to educate our youth in our community about the dangers of substance use and address at-risk behaviors. It's Recovery Month, and I see you have your purple sign up, and thank you very much for your support. This month has been extremely busy and very fruitful, but so has the past year, and I kind of wanted to share some of the things that we have achieved. So in FY23, we did 140 community events. We did 69 presentations to school-age youth, and that included lunch tables, which reached over 3,000 youth in our community, and those were at the middle and high schools. We did messaging with substance use, tobacco, and vaping. We did 6 presentations to the business community. We had 1 disposal event, but we still continue to maintain drug disposal bins at the county, throughout the county, 5 of them in the county pharmacies. We had 31 safe storage and disposal education, 2 advertisements of awareness through the year. And we continue to build our relationship with the Board of Education, which is why I came here today to ask that you support us partnering with them to give a speech from Stephen Hill, who is a recovery speaker, a person in long-term recovery, who shares his story. And tonight he'll be presenting at Williamsport High School, which was the choice of the Board of Ed, where we're seeing a good many drug-related issues with the students. So this will be an assembly for parents and children. It starts at 6 o'clock. Stephen will be here and he'll do a Q&A with the parents. We also will have our concealment trailer there, which is a trailer that's made up as a mock bedroom. And in partnership with the Sheriff's Department Narcotics Task Force, we'll have Agent Isaacs there to walk the parents through to show them where there are some potential areas that children may hide substances. So really having those conversations with the parents to see what they are looking for. So Stephen was already in town, so he was able to do the assembly tonight, and he'll also do a presentation tomorrow at the library. I'm going to let Terry talk about that. But the exciting thing is the video that he is going to show, his movie that's on Amazon, was actually shot in Washington County and features myself, the former mayor, Emily Keller, the chief of police, EMS, and some fire officials. So I'm going to let Terry talk about what she has planned for tomorrow evening for our community.
Thank you, Vicki. Yes, tomorrow evening, as Vicki mentioned, at 5 p.m. at the Washington County Free Library, we will be showing this magnificent film called Surviving the Hill, which of course stars Stephen Hill himself and is directed by Janelle Holmes of Supernatural Inc. Films. Immediately after the 1 hour and 20-minute film, we'll be having a question and answer panel, pardon me, including Vicki, Mr. Hill, Mr. Holmes, Mayor Martinez, former Mayor Emily Keller, the Chief of Police Kiefer, Battalion Chief Mark Kleck, as well as a couple of long-term recovering addicts from the film. So we hope you would find time to join us at the library.
So our ask today to help cover the cost of Mr. Hill's presentation is $5,000, and that would be in partnership with the county commissioners.
I just have a curious question on, I'm reading the briefs we get. Said you've done so much, including almost 40,000 in scholarships to Washington County seniors. I never heard that before.
Yeah, so through the Community Foundation, we put all the donations there, and then each year, this year we weren't able to do it because we did not have enough money, but in the past years, we've given a scholarship opened up to every senior in high school, so they have an opportunity, and then one non-traditional age student.
Okay, thank you.
Other comments, questions?
Vicki, a question about the presentation. Is it something that could be recorded on video and maybe shared at all of the high schools? I'm not sure everything that's involved in that presentation, but
I can check with the Board of Education. I'm not sure, to be honest with you. We've done that before. We've done virtual before during the day, but in the evening, we have not done that. This is a new venture, but I can definitely talk to Mr. Knoll, the principal, who I'm actually was texting him earlier to kind of get the logistics.
okay.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, motions?
Looking for a motion for the 5,000. Is that what you want today? I'll make a motion to support it.
Would this likely come from the Commissioner Contingency Fund?
That's correct. That's how we funded it last fiscal year. It was out of Commissioner Contingency Fund.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much.
Looking for a motion to convene as the Board of Health at this time.
Motion to convene as the Board of Health.
Second.
Okay, motion and second. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Thank you very much. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen from the Health Department. And this is the Optimal Adolescent Health Program, True You.
Good morning, Earl Stoner, Health Officer for the Health Department.
And Danielle Stahl, Program Manager with Washington County Health Department.
So as the Commission President mentioned, we are here to seek approval for a contract with Girls Inc. of Washington County in the amount of $165,000 to implement this program in conjunction with the school system. It's a grant that targets the implementation of comprehensive sexual education in the school system, really seeking to prevent teen pregnancies, sexually transmitted infections, really trying to partner parents with their teens to increase communications and the like, and ultimately to abstain or prolong their sexual experience. So we are here today to seek approval to move forward with that award to Girls Inc. so that they can coordinate with the school system and continue their implementation.
The only question I have, is any of this money go toward like terminations of pregnancy, or is it just mostly pregnancy?
No, it's not actual service or treatment related, it's all education.
I'd motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and second on the floor to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
5-0. Looking for a motion to reconvene as the Washington County Board of County Commissioners.
Motion.
Have a motion on the floor. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Next item is bid award, PUR 1621, plumbing and heating maintenance services.
Good morning. Randy Nagelmeyer in the Purchasing Department.
Danny Hickson, Deputy Director of Buildings, Grounds, and Facilities.
The first recommendation I have for you this morning is the bid award PUR 1621, Plumbing and Heating Maintenance Services. Move to award the Plumbing and Heating Maintenance Services contract to the responsible low bidder, Mixed Plumbing and Heating of Thurmont, Maryland, with their base bid of $135,700. The contract services include maintenance on steam and hot water boilers, the wet side of the heat distribution systems, domestic hot and cold distribution, and fixtures. The contract is for a one-year period, tentatively to begin October 1st, 2023, with the option for the county to renew up to 4 consecutive one-year periods. This contract also provides services for the Washington County Health Department and the Housing Authority of Washington County. Notice of the invitation to bid was published in the local newspaper, on the eMaryland Marketplace website, and the county's website. 15 companies downloaded the document and 2 bids were received. Funding is available in various departmental budgets for these services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is contract renewal 1569, uniforms for Washington County Sheriff's officers.
Randy Nagelmeyer in the Purchasing Department. The last recommendation I have for you this morning is the contract renewal 1569, uniforms for the Washington County Sheriff's officers. Move to renew the contract for uniforms with the Washington County Sheriff's officers to Galls out of Lexington, Kentucky, per the rates included in the letter dated August 11th, 2023. Galls is asking for a 9.9% increase above the current rates due to cost of supplies, changes in market conditions affecting labor, utility, and shipping costs. On October 11th, 2022, the Board of County Commissioners did award the contract to Galls for a total sum of $117,485.25. That was based on estimated quantities. We do not guarantee a minimum or maximum of quantities. The contract was for a period of 1 year. Tentatively, it began October 1st, 2022, with the option for the county to renew up to 5 consecutive one-year periods. It was advertised on the eMaryland Marketplace website, the county's website, and the local newspapers. There is funding available in various departments for the uniform services.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item is sole source contract award 1640, Astro 25 Phase 2, enhancements and upgrades of the emergency and local government radio communications.
Morning, Rick Curry, Director of Purchasing.
Morning, Tom Weber, Deputy Director of Wireless Communications.
Subject before you is the sole source contract PUR 1640 for the Astro 25 Phase 2 enhancement upgrades of emergency and local government radio communications. Motion to authorize Wireless Communications to enter into a sole source contract for the Astro 25 Phase 2 enhancement upgrades of the emergency and local government radio communications from Motorola Solutions Incorporated of Ithaca, Maryland, in a total sum amount of $13,592,402. As you know, the radio system is aging. It's around 20 years of age. There are problems with getting replacement parts, keeping the system working. There are some radios that are unsupported. There was a Phase 1 that was completed that the board approved. Wireless Communications wishes to use Sections 1-106.2A1 of the Code of Public Laws, where only one source exists that meets the county's requirements and the compatibility of equipment and accessory replacement of parts are paramount consideration. This requires 4 of the 5 commissioners' approval. If the approval is granted, in 10 days, there will be a notice published in a general circulation newspaper, and a record will be kept of this procurement. And you can see on the ARF, the funding is available in the accounts listed. You have concurrence, and you have Motorola's proposal.
Is that numbers, does that come in numbers board money? Is that anything to do with the numbers board?
No, it's, all the funds are coming from ARPA fund. The majority of it is ARPA funds that was deposited before Sarah Greaves left.
Okay.
The
That
other
was
money-
something we talked about a couple of years ago, right? Is
I
this
think
have
so.
something, same difference, right?
I think so, but since we got the ARPA money,
Yep,
it's not
gotcha.
necessary.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion is second on the floor. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Next item is sole source procurement, 1645, multi-year maintenance support and purchase agreement.
I'm January Curry, Director of Purchasing.
Tom Weber, Deputy Director, Wireless Communications.
The subject is a sole source procurement PUR 1645 for its multi-year maintenance support. An SUAII 2 purchase agreement. Recommended motion to authorize a sole source procurement for a multi-year Astro 25 radio system and NICE recording system maintenance support and agreement, and the SUAII 2 major software upgrade for the Wireless Communication Department, amount of $4,997,473.22 over a 5-year period from Motorola Solutions of Lithicum, Maryland. As you can see in the ARF, there's breakdown of years 1 through 5. On November 1st of last year, the board did approve phase 1, which included a multi-protocol label switching and an internet protocol, and a cost of $1,703,356.26. This included upgrading the existing microwave links that did not exceed $50,000 each. Wireless Communications wish to use sections 106.2A1 and 2 of the Code of Public Laws, where only one source meets the county's requirements. The compatibility of equipment is paramount consideration. And if the board does approve this request, then within 10 days, there will be a notice published in the local newspaper, and a record will be kept of this procurement. And money is available for year 1 in the amount of $868,000, and the department will have to budget for years 2 through 5. And you have Motorola's proposal for the agreement on the maintenance.
So again, I asked the question. So it's $868,000, that's just year 1. And then after year 1, how many years? So we have to budget more money.
On the out years.
So there's no concurrences here at all. So who's concurring that this is?
So these expenses are expenses that we've already been incurring over the past 6 years. We already our current contract with Motorola expired June 30th. So this is just a renew. Basically, this is the software and warranty package that goes with the radio system that you just approved. So these expenses come out of my general budget, and I budget for them every year anyway.
Okay, thank you. That was a curious question. We've been talking about radios for like 5 years, so.
I mean, obviously, the price is going up because we have more sophisticated equipment now, and we have some additional coverages that we didn't have in the previous contract, so the pricing is going up. So I will have to adjust for that in my budget. But
And because this is a normal operating expense, it would be included in his normal operating budget, so you would have the CFO concurrences.
Oh, okay. Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a question if I can. Just curious, I realize the maintenance expense ongoing is not new, but the radios are new, and at a price tag of $13.6 million, does any kind of warranty already come with the radios or any kind of servicing? I kind of think, liken it to when you buy a new car, you get some kind of benefit with servicing for buying a new piece of equipment.
I have Motorola representatives here, but I do believe the radios are covered for 5 years. 5-year bumper-to-bumper coverage on the radio.
Okay. So that, just for my own benefit, so I understand radios a little better, I know this is a niche specialty that I don't have. What were we paying for our maintenance support versus what are we paying now for our maintenance support?
Last year's fiscal year 2023, I think it was $700 and $98,000 approximately. Almost the same, just slightly less than the year one pricing here. And the year one pricing is significantly less than 2 through 5 because they prorated year one. Years 2 through 5 will include the new equipment that we're getting ready to implement.
And just another question here, and again, excuse me, just an important purchase. What does this maintenance cover that the factory warranty, I'm sorry if that's not the right terminology, but wouldn't already cover? Just why do we need both?
So I think for the most part, the majority of the factory equipment is covered under a 1-year warranty from the date of purchase or installation. And then this is the additional coverage after that expires.
Okay, so are you saying we have a year where we don't need the maintenance coverage?
Well, no, because the first year is for the equipment that we already have, and years 2 through 5 is for the new equipment.
Okay.
That we don't have installed yet. There we go. She can explain it better.
There's a reason you came, thank you.
Good morning, Heather Tenney, Motorola Solutions Account Manager. I think it's important to just distinguish the difference between maintenance coverage on radios and the maintenance coverage on the whole radio infrastructure.
Okay.
And that's the big difference here. What's being presented is the maintenance on the whole infrastructure of the radio system, not just the individual radios.
Okay. Thank you.
Question I have.
I did.
System-wide, our radio system is interactive with neighboring jurisdictions or the state of Maryland. Can we explain that a little bit?
It presently isn't with our current radios. With these new radios that we're going to purchase, they will have complete interoperability with all 7 jurisdictions that our county borders.
Will this give us added features such as video, texting, and things like that we didn't have prior?
The radios have the capability to do that moving forward in the future. The problem is our Ethernet backbone is limited with bandwidth, so for now, we may not be able to provide that, but if MEMS, which is the state entity that provides our connectivity between all the sites, were to increase or upgrade their equipment, then yes, the capability is there.
Other questions or comments? I think we have a
Just to make sure,
I can
just
say,
to make sure, it's follow up on Ms. Gordon's question. So it's dependent upon the state increasing bandwidth,
yes,
technological capability, not us.
yes.
Okay, good,
The state
thank you.
is the entity that provides our interconnectivity between our 10 RF sites within the county. The county owns 5 of the sites straight out, and we co-locate on 5 sites that the state owns.
Any other questions or comments? We have a motion and a second on the floor, ready to vote. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Sorry, Wayne.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
5-0.
I have one more question, not about this, so you can take your seats, I'm sorry. But we've had several purchases here, and I was just hoping that maybe we can get, as for this purchase with the contract, we had what was budgeted for that particular project and what the actual cost came in at. But for the previous purchases, if just my memory serves me correctly, even for capital projects that we might approve or purchases like uniforms, we're usually given what we budget for that expense and then what that price comes in at. Could we get that for the set of 3 or 4 that we just approved, and then going forward, could that also be included in
Yes,
the ARF?
we can get that for you.
Okay, thank you. And I just want to say, I think that's important to know. If we over budget it for something that frees up money within our budget, if we under budget it, we need to, recognize that for next time.
Okay. Thank you. Next item is Airport Strategic Plan Business Strategies. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning, Commissioners. Andrew Eshelman, Director of Public Works.
Good morning, Neil Doran, Airport Director.
And before we get started, I just wanted to let the commissioners know that I asked staff to bring back in work session type format the strategic plan so that we can dissect each element of it and get your input regarding what you feel is the best course going forward related to revenue potential revenue items, potential expenditure items, potential expansion, things like that. So right now we're focusing on the strategic plan so that we can get that in place and they have an operating model to follow.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. So we were here before you in July to introduce that plan. And as Michelle indicated, there's a lot of information to process. And so today we just wanted to come back and focus only on the business planning strategies and that portion of the plan. And really at the core of what we do, the business planning strategies are really what's most important and the determining factor in where and how we spend time and resources. And so as you are also aware, the airport is largely a self-supporting enterprise fund, and so the revenue that's collected covers the operating expenses. But it's also much more than that. The airport also supports Washington County business growth and development, as well as services to the citizens. We believe this is important because the airport is in a very different situation than it was 10 and even 5 years ago. And the industry is also rapidly transforming. So we believe it's critical that the airport adapts to the current landscape to remain successful. So today we wanted to just touch on a few areas. We wanted to cover business and hangar development economics, non-aviation property development, air cargo, and air service development. And so again, if there's questions at any time, we'll be happy to answer those, but also we want to have an opportunity for dialogue at the end.
Yes, the plan looked at competing airports within 60 miles. Now, most of those are general aviation airports, so Hagerstown really stood out as impressive as the only commercial service airport within that radius, having one of the largest primary runways, one of the biggest areas of acreage of the property, and also in terms of the count of based aircraft at Hagerstown, one of the largest tallies there. We looked at the rates. Typically, the Part 139 airports have the highest rates or higher rates than GA airports. So in Hagerstown's case, we are competitive. So our rates are similar to what one might pay at several of the general aviation airports in the region. And so we think we're well positioned for continued growth among the general aviation community. Just looking at the breakdown, we had the 2018 study looking at our total economic activity. It surpassed $300 million annually and supported 1,800 jobs. We find also that many of our land leasing arrangements is where a lot of our operating revenue comes from. Not just the corporate box hangars that pay leases, but the T-hangars and various fees that we charge to run the airport on. Well, we want to continue to encourage business development. We have available land that we can make available for lease, but perhaps more work needs to be done to get these sites fully pad ready, and that could involve utility work. And so we are investigating various development grant opportunities so that these properties can be more turnkey and ready to go. We note in the plan that private industry, partnership with private industry has been good for the airport. In particular, its ability to deliver these projects quickly. So we do think low cost environment and available land and our strategic location in the region are all competitive advantages for HGO. Now, the matter of non-aviation property development is that some parcels were purchased over the years with federal money, but they're set off from the runway, or there's a difference in grade or elevation, or perhaps the parcel's cut off by a road in the airport environment. And so what could we do with this land other than farm leases is perhaps a commercial use that would be comfortable with a leasing arrangement, or perhaps a small solar project could be accomplished on different parcels as well. We note that we have 2 restaurants on or near the airfield. We've got the Hagerstown Aviation Museum and other attractions at the airport. And as air service has the potential to grow in the terminal, there's always concessions and opportunities in that way if we can increase the daily volume of passengers in the building, whether that be a gift shop or a food and beverage stand. We did look a little bit about air cargo. We'd have a reportable quantity of air cargo going on right now, most often automotive parts coming and going. We lack the volume for a dedicated air cargo terminal facility. What we have is well handled by the Ryder Jet Center FBO staff there, but it does account for several million pounds of landed weight per year. We will keep an open mind in the future about opportunities, given our, again, nice position and proximity to population centers, and who knows, in the years to come, perhaps these opportunities involve drone aircraft or UAS. Air service development. This is a very important slide because we find among small communities we have to work harder to achieve growth in this area. And very often it means we have to have specialized help in the form of air service development consultants that can provide a highly specialized form of data reporting so that we can better understand the nature of the passengers and the money that's being earned by the airlines, where they're going, where they're coming from. But growing this count of passenger enplanements is very important because it's linked to our grants. So if we surpass that 10,000 annual enplanement number, that opens up capital money for entitlement funds under the AIP program administered by the FAA. So we want to continue to keep those numbers up, and we want to grow them because many discretionary grants that the FAA gives are competitive. So the greater number of passengers traveling and flying through HDR, more opportunities we have for more frequent grants and larger grants. Of course, air service development is an amenity here in Washington County. It's a feather in our cap, and it's something that supports local tourism and group travel and business. In our case, we're served by a ultra low-cost carrier, so we need to continue to keep their costs low so that we would be competitive with other cities, while acknowledging that our expenses to support such arrangements are increasing.
I wanted to provide the opportunity to give a little bit of an overview about where we are really in our position in the industry and the overall landscape and why this is important. So if you've read a lot of news articles or traveled recently, you're probably aware that there's increased demand for air service, but the problem is that the service locations are actually constricting. And this is most often happening at the regional airports, the small and non-hub. And so we're aware that Hagerstown lost its essential air service in 2019, so we more or less fall into that category. And the reality is that we're unlikely to regain that type of air service. And so we are looking at other types of alternate services, such as equivalent land-based opportunities. And just as a statistic here that I found quite shocking, so the legacy carriers, that's your American Airlines, your Delta, United, since 2021, they left 74 regional airports. So the overall trend and what the chart's showing up there is the number of departures is decreasing, the planes are getting larger, so the seats are increasing, and they're consolidating those routes in the larger urban areas. So what does that mean for Hagerstown? We're kind of uniquely situated here. We would fall into the smaller category. But again, we have opportunity here with Allegiant because that's actually their niche, that they're trying to fill the voids left by these larger carriers and fly people from those smaller cities to the destinations. And so that's the opportunity, but they're not immune. A lot of the same trends that we're seeing, nationally, they're also following. And we are going to experience as well larger airplanes. And so that's something we're looking forward to. More seats, that'll be more opportunity to put, passengers in and out of Hagerstown. So again, Allegiant has been our carrier. They've been successful, and so we hear about the growth that we're seeing, and here's kind of an example. Allegiant flew 1.4% more available seat miles. That's on a year-to-year basis, and so you try to quantify what's the metric, 1.4% more, but they were rewarded with a 10.3% increase in passengers. So that's kind of shocking to show how much growth and demand there really is. And so it's important to keep in mind that while HDR is setting records, so are most other places at the same or greater rate. And so we need to compete with that as well. So again, HDR is a small non-hub airport, and as Neil said, we need to work even harder to keep the service that we've had. We've had a 10-year plus relationship, and a lot of effort's gone into that. But also in the grand scheme of things, recognize that we are a small piece of their overall operation. And so looking at the first quarter departures, we represent 0.37% of their overall operations. So again, there's things that we can do to stay relevant and competitive, but again, in the overall landscape, we certainly don't want to be taken for granted or be viewed as stagnant or unable to accommodate growth, and that's the opportunity that we have. We want to be seen as the place that they can do business, they can profit, and there's also an opportunity to grow, and that we're not overlooked for an opportunity elsewhere. So as Neil mentioned, air service development, what is that? Those are services that the airport uses. We've used in the past. We use it right now and more or less on a on-call fee for service. So if we need something, we go out and we get it, and that's kind of a cumbersome and slow process to do. And so having somebody that's available to go to the meetings where we can attend, also be able to prepare a lot of the data and statistics. These things aren't readily available to just lay people, and so you need to have certain clearances and information to be able to identify how you're performing, where people are traveling to and from in terms of the zip codes. And so when you meet with these airlines, that's information they expect the airport to have and be able to provide that we just don't have at our disposal right now.
So we want to continue our self-sustaining enterprise fund status. But we're having these rising costs because we need to comply with the mandates, the security mandates, for instance, that the TSA have represent possibly very large costs in the future, and they're on the horizon. The cost to maintain our airfield according to FAA standards, and very often those projects are something that airports are expected to have the means to do, such as airfield painting projects for which there's no grant support. And so, as we mentioned in previous slides, we are recommending that we follow the advice of the airlines, the encouragement of the airlines, that we implement strategies to collect modest fees from the airline passengers that are using our terminal facilities. In that way, we can help keep the cost charged directly to the airline low. And so this is the case at more than 200 cities around the United States. It allows those direct costs assigned to the airline to be lower, and it signals that the airline is on a more sustainable model where we can take care of growth. If we had additional flights, we would have some means to pay for those increased costs. So more passengers, more revenue to pay for support services. Presently, we have no significant way to monetize the passenger activity in our terminal and to convert that activity to revenue. So that's why we bring up the financial tools. We want the same tools in our toolbox as nearly all the other airports in the United States are doing. And principally, as we've said, this involves a modest parking fee and a passenger facility charge, a PFC. So we did our homework. We looked at the 122 Allegiant cities in the United States. Of that 122, only 5, including us, have free parking, and only 3 are not assessing a PFC. Of the 122, only Hagerstown has neither a PFC or paid parking. Even at a low daily parking rate, these fees could represent hundreds of thousands of additional annual revenue to assist the airport and to help us provide the support services. Again, the ground handling staff for the flights, the firefighters we need, the sheriff's deputies, the law enforcement costs at the checkpoint, and our items for compliance. Parking revenue could also support expanded marketing efforts, air service development efforts, and also help in the other areas of maintenance and other related expenses. PFC revenue can be used to provide the matching funds we need for grant projects, and the maximum amount that could be collected is $4.50 for each passenger enplanement or boarding. So we think that would generate about $150,000 a year, given our current level of activity. $150,000.
How much do you estimate parking would charge?
We were thinking at our current level of utilization, $200,000 to $300,000 a year additional.
These fees are collected where?
I'm sorry?
How are the fees collected?
The PFC is collected by the airline from the passenger and then remitted back to the airport.
Including the parking ticket, the parking?
No, that was for the PFC.
Okay.
The parking would be, there'd be pay stations there, a gated entry so we could better secure the lot, and they could pay by credit card. We would also have validation machines inside the terminal where we could waive the cost of parking if someone was coming for a business meeting or something like that.
Would that fee be by the day or by a visit? How would that be instituted?
There would be a period of time that would be free. If you wanted to drop somebody off, for example, you could make the first 30 minutes free. And then it could be hourly, but there would be a daily max. The consultant recommended a nuisance fee of a $5 daily maximum. And so that would be $60 a week. And that, of course, is very competitive and lower than the most economic option at BWI or Dulles or Reagan or Harrisburg or any other airport within
So
driving
you
distance.
depart on a Thursday, you come back on Monday, you pay Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday fee?
Yeah, it's $5 for each 24 hours, so it starts the clock on that hour when you start.
Is the revenue projection you gave, is that net of any fees to implement a parking system? I don't know what it would take to put gates in or a ticket collector, or is that a net income that we would receive, do you estimate?
We've already got a detailed quote from the vendor, but in addition to that, we would have some civil engineering fees associated with, the internet lines and electricity need to go out there. Or if we needed to close some of the entrances and exit points in some way with new curbs or perhaps even fencing. Just depends on how far we wanted to take it to get started. The vendor that provides the parking revenue management machines, they do have a monthly, or they have different service fees, but they can collect those and remit back the remainder to us. It's seamless.
Are FAA grants available to install something like that, or would that have to come out of the enterprise fund itself?
So the FAA does not pay for parking. They look at that as a concession area or something that the airport can generate revenue on. So the model would be in some of these vendors, again, the one that we've talked to, there's others that do it, whatever startup fee, which I believe their quote for the equipment and whatnot was $70,000, they could credit that out of the first several months or however period of time of revenue, so that there's not a direct cost for the airport. But again, there'd be some civil costs associated. And there's kind of a range for, here's what the bare minimum would be. You could work it all the way up to, additional security cameras, fencing, those kind of things, which honestly right now is also a concern and a liability for us because people park their vehicles there. So while they're on the property, we've had instances, rare, but it does happen from time to time where things happen on the parking lot that we, need to work through insurance with and claims and things like that.
So we'd better secure the parking lot to have the access.
Has cameras ever been installed out there yet? Because didn't we have rash catalytic converters be installed there at one time?
Yes, sir, it has happened a few times over the years. We do have some cameras, but we could use more camera angles and more locations for cameras. There are other small projects that we could do that's been brought to our attention in our curb area, such as the installation of bollards and things like that.
Only question I had, I did a drive-through out there to see, obviously the PFCs are really no overhead expense to implement, just a little bit, nothing like parking, correct?
There's an application, so again, back to, that's something you need a consultant to help prepare. It goes to the FAA and there's a review period, and then in that $4.50, the airlines keep a nominal amount, I want to say 11 cents of that as a processing handling fee. But then for the period of time that you have the fee in place, whether it's 5 or 10 years, at that point, there's just a lot of processing and paperwork, but there's not necessarily any additional effort involved.
It's not as involved as the parking implement. So Legion prefers parking over PFCs, obviously, because it adds to their ticket price. There was I don't know if it was a rumor or a talk that Legion didn't several years ago when I first came on, they didn't want PFCs. What's Allegiance? I know what you have written here, but what's Allegiance stance on that now? Are they going to get heartburn over PFCs?
Well, they definitely discourage it, but when we did the exercise to look at how many Legion cities have it, the airports are doing it anyway, and they're not leaving.
So there's only 3 that doesn't have PFCs, and we're one of them.
Correct.
So
I would say that before, the airport used to have a PFC. Right. It let it expired, and there's various reasons, and back to how the airport is different now than it was, you can't collect a PFC on essential air service. So some of it is back to why would you have something that you can't collect on, because the AES flight and service is already subsidized, so the idea is you can't collect another fee on top of something that's being subsidized.
So if you and I are flying to Florida, it's going to be $450 each PFC, and on the way back, it's just $450 going, right? And then whoever's coming back could charge another PFC, right? Whether it's, say, Sanford or wherever. So the most I'm going to see on my ticket going is that Hagerstown gets is $450.
Correct. It's on the enplanement. So right now, when you book a ticket from Hagerstown to Sanford, there's no PFC. When you fly back and leave Sanford charges a $4.50
right
PFC. That's already built in.
And Sanford already charges that.
They already charge that.
So the parking I would probably keep basic. I did a little exercise on my own after I left the meeting the other day at the board meeting. I rode through there and started looking at tags because, you're always concerned. I mean, it's $35 a week basically to park, right? Is that math right? Yeah. So, and it's just an enormous amount of different tags. It's not like not all Maryland, obviously. It's Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, a lot of Florida, obviously. So, you're just seeing how bad are we going to hit our Washington County people? Well, you drive sometimes before you see a Maryland tag. So I was just curious about that. I would keep the parking really basic. I think it would add to security myself to have somebody some monitoring system so we don't have, we know there's people park there long term. It's a big parking lot. No one really cared. But then again, we had people who had catalytic converters stolen. So people do care about that. So that's just my thoughts on it. So what are you actually asking for in this? What are you asking for? I've heard parking, PFCs, and did we ask for an air service development consultant? Did we ask for that, or is that just a?
Yes, we have a solicitation right now that we've gotten responses from, but we haven't yet opened the pricing proposals and that sort of thing. So we would like a motion to proceed with the selection of air service development consultant in addition to those other 2.
I mean, I personally would be all 3 to move forward and explore it all. I don't have any problem with any of it. That's just, I get to hear a lot more than the rest of the commissioners because I'm there every month listening to it. And it seems sort of bizarre that we're the only one in 122 Allegiant stations that don't have PFCs and parking. And I'm thinking, you're going to Florida, I guess, I know money's money, but $35 to park, better than running the BWI. That's just my take on it. Let everybody else talk. So
I'm interested in exploring more of these opportunities as well. I think the benefit of location that our airport provide, might mitigate some travelers' concerns paying a parking fee. And, I'm sure some people use it as a park and ride too, just because the parking lot's not monitored, maybe like it should be. And this could be an opportunity for us to do that. As far as the PFC fee, maybe we need some more feedback from Allegiant. I think they're our only partner right now, or our main partner providing the air service. And if we're looking to them for maybe new destinations, I know that's something I always, thought about.
Don't want to make them mad.
What?
Don't want to make them mad.
Well, Kurt, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Don't want to make them mad.
It's an ongoing conversation, and if you had, if they were choosing, they would say they look at the parking fee as something that's the airport collects versus assigned to the airline. But again, the numbers bear out what they show, and each airport kind of has their niche or strategy for how they can collect or convert passengers to revenue. Some of the Florida destinations, it's car rentals. They make a lot of money on their car rentals because they get people coming into the area, and that's their go-to for how they do that. I think what Allegiant is looking at from us is saying, okay, Hagerstown, we understand you give us a good deal, you're a good partner, but it's a small operation. So if we were to add flights to you, how are you going to do that without passing the cost directly on to us? And we're not sitting here saying, here's the exact formula. But I think that's kind of what they want to know, which is if we would be able to grow here, how are you going to support those services and grow without just passing that cost directly on to us? Because that's what they are interested in, not just where we are now, but if we would add additional flight, what's the profitability of doing that at Hagerstown versus that service at BWI or Dulles or Harrisburg or any other location across the country? They, like most companies, they want to grow, they like money, but unfortunately right now, the industry is constrained, so they don't have as many pilots and planes as they'd like to be able to say indiscriminately, we're going to try here, here, and here and see what works. They're looking at it and saying, here's how Sanford did. They actually reduced the bottom performing 4 or 5 destinations, and the cities and airports that we saw add service were some of the top performing ones. And they wouldn't necessarily be places or locations that you would think of as like, you know, spectacular destinations. But they're doing very well performance-wise. Places like Grand Rapids and Appleton, Wisconsin, Provo, Utah, you know, places that are kind of smaller markets but do very well for what they are given.
You mentioned consultant. Is there a fee? Is it, you have to put that out for a quote?
So,
is that already included in what we have?
Yeah, what we do now is we get essentially quotes for individual services. So when we go to the Allegiant conference, they prepare some of that. So the idea would be more like what was done even when we were courting Allegiant and our airline, is being able to have certain core services available as a base fee that they would provide, and then there'd be an opportunity if there's additional services like we call leakage study, where they pull information from zip codes to find out who's flying where. So we haven't opened those yet to say here's what the cost would be, but like most contracts, they would be approved by the commissioners.
That's
So we didn't want to be presumptuous to say,
Okay.
we're doing that and put the cart before the horse.
Okay.
Are you through?
Yeah, good. Please, sir.
So, very interesting. Appreciate the hard work that went into this and the work that you did in the earlier presentation when you came before us with logo ideas and the like. And appreciated the time we spent together going through some of that several weeks ago, I guess it was. I'm having some dissonance here because I hear on one hand that we're concerned about Allegiant and a partner and risk of maybe losing, you know, our primary client out there, which is Allegiant from a commercial air perspective. And the PFC would add that cost, and they're going to be looking at that. And I know you say it's the same everywhere, but it would change the cost structure a little bit. And if you do that, and with the parking, it's going to add probably just under $40 if you're doing one of these trips to Florida or something and then coming back to the cost of the individual, right? It might not seem like a lot to some people, but, you know, I've heard before that, you know, $40 is a lot of money. Okay, so I'm wondering about the Allegiant piece of this and how we maintain the best relationship with them to keep them here, to keep them interested in being here, and how that factors into everything. And I know you're the intermediary, but at some point, maybe in closed session, we could have a discussion with Allegiant representatives here. I think that would be worthwhile for me, so they could answer questions. I am a little concerned about the PFC issue and what that actually means. And from what I'm hearing from you is it doesn't really matter, but I do have some concerns that it may factor into some calculation, and I don't want to disadvantage us over the next few years. But I know I'm not an expert on this. I'm not on the advisory board and stuff like Randy is, and I'm not a pilot, and I don't have a plane out there, and I don't fly a lot. So the other thing is on the parking. My gut tells me I'm disinclined to support a parking fee out there. I understand the logic behind it. I understand what you're saying. But right now, I'm just not, I'm not convinced. I'm not against it, but I'm not sure where I'm at. I'm just disinclined to go that direction right now. I hear from a lot of people that that's one of the nice things about Washington County Airport. Now, the other issue of security has been brought up, and, it's not necessarily tied to the parking fee. If we need more cameras out there, so be it. More cameras may be important, and as a deterrent, and also not just as a deterrent, but it can help solve that petty crime. So those are my thoughts right now. I don't think we're being asked for a decision right now, are we?
No, no decision, just discussion.
Just for clarity, has there been any, pardon me, Randy, has there been any rash of these catalytic converters or other incidents on a regular basis recently? I don't want to give the opinion that we've got a rash of crime out there.
Oh,
I'm
no,
just asking for
I know of
security in
only one
general.
instance in my time at the airport in the last 10 months.
I just want to make that clear, because
But
It seems to be whenever it pops up in the community, it's kind of pops up there. And it's not
But it's not
regular
an
occurrence.
ongoing
No, I don't want to
factor.
give the impression that
Okay,
it's a regular
thank you.
occurrence. No.
When something like that does happen, maybe this is a question for Kirk, who's responsible? If it happened on our property, does that make us responsible in any way, or is this something that the owner of the vehicle?
Well, we have signs out there that disclaim our liability, but they still have interactions, and it's passed on to our insurance company anyway. So they often want to hold the county responsible in some way for what happens. People can be in there and hit a car in less than a minute and be out of there. So even if you get them in a really sharp camera view, it's the idea of access control. Can there be a gate that physically keeps someone who isn't parking there and hasn't supplied, identifying information, or we don't have a picture of their license tag, out of that area, and that would keep those cars and vehicles safer.
Yeah, I would think people would be appreciative for secure parking. To follow up on Derek's commentary there, I see we're 122 Allegiant airports. Allegiant doesn't care because they charge a PFC. Allegiant hadn't dissolved them, so I'm not too much worried about that. We've sat as a board and talked about more. I think we're forgetting another big part of it. This is revenue to less that we have to come up with for the airport to operate. We talk about a tax raise or raising revenues and countywide. Well, I'm surely not going to, I would like to raise revenue this way. If I'm going to Sanford, I sure don't care about a $40 a week secure parking. If I'm going on a week's vacation, I just don't care. I'm not going to drive to BWI when I can park here for $40 or 35 actually.
As we said, the cost-sensitive person can be dropped off, and they can park for free for some period of time.
And it's not like we're taxing totally all of our citizens, if you want to call it a parking a tax, because we're not, because there's, like I said, take a ride through that parking lot. It's crazy with all the different tags. I personally don't see any argument for information purposes on any of it at this point. I'm not really worried about Allegiant, Derek, only because everybody else does it. So what, are they going to single Hagerstown out and say, okay, we're done with you guys because you're charging $450, So, and that's the max, which is sort of nice. And I like the idea of the parking because it's secure, and I know it's a big deal. I can go and park at Hagerstown for free. I get it, but when I park somewhere it's unattended, I worry a little bit about it.
And from a financial perspective, it's always important for the county to ensure that the cost of providing that service is actually being paid for by the users of that service, and this would help ensure that the users of the airport are actually helping to pay for the maintenance and future maintenance of that airport.
I would just like to add that there's no doubt that we're in a situation of potential growing pains, right? There's only so much we can do with what we have without overburdening and directly passing those expenses on. So on the one hand, we want to make sure we maintain the relationship and what we have and not somehow put that in jeopardy. So I think that's very well said, and that's a concern that we're always looking out for the relationship. The other side of it is, again, them looking at us and saying, okay, Hagerstown, we are a company, we want to be able to grow. How are you going to help us get there? And that's why we call them tools. It's not necessarily that we're going to run out and do all that. That's a dialogue that we can have, potentially go back and say, we have these tools in our toolbox. We can look at different ways, and even when we met with them at the conference, what the rate structure looks like. Is it essentially a per-use type rate structure? Is it a flat rate structure? How do we structure those things? And again, we mentioned just briefly about the loss of EAS air service. We could spend some more time, and Neil spent an extensive amount of time researching different opportunities. A lot of those replacement models, they will not be, or equivalents, will not be 100% subsidized by the federal government. And so if we ever hope to regain that daily type of service or connectivity, unfortunately, the reality is that there's going to be a financial ask either from the airport or the county to pay for that. And so having something in place that helps support that is really what we need to be thinking about if we hope to regain that type of service. Do you have anything that you want to share as far as that?
As far as you think of the comments that people make on the airport's Facebook page and the other cities that they'd like to see us have flights to, they're very supportive of the airport. I think if you ask most of those people, they'd be willing to spend a few dollars if it meant prospects for growth at the airport was enhanced. I mean, I think about it, we can muster the 8 or 9 people at a minimum that we need to handle one aircraft at a time. Well, what do we do when the airline wants to come and we've got 2 aircraft on the ground that need service at the same time? So if we have a tool like parking, it's something that it's variable. As we grow, the amount of money it generates grows as well. And that is what allows us to continue having discussions in a realistic way.
Today, right?
Neil,
No request for a motion today, right? This is
No, I mean, we wanted to just be presentation only. Again, anything that you want to signal to us as far as a willingness to move forward with either air service development or bring back for more discussions, we're happy to do. But again, we're here for feedback.
I think you
and if there's something
fine-tune
to
and
work
bring
on.
it back for a motion. That's what I think. Fine-tune everything and bring it back in a short agenda for what you found completely and for a motion.
Yeah, and just, Neil, for your consideration, a half-hour free parking for drop-off or pickup is really too short. An hour is pretty standard because you get out there, you're meeting grandma or grandpa with the kids in tow. That half hour quickly gets you to that point where you're paying for that first hour. And then I don't disagree with anything Randy said. You know, I understand it. I would like to hear from Allegiant in closed session to talk about business aspects, if that's possible.
Would it be a video conference or something?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it'd be fine.
And just one last thing, I don't want to belabor this anymore. Andrew, you heard camera a lot, but you made a remark to me the other day, because I've been talking about cameras for 4 years. They're enormously expensive. Is that what you said?
Yes, I mean, my understanding is that anytime we put up a camera system, that it needs to be integrated into the county system, and obviously there's reasons for security purposes for doing that, so it's not that we go out and we purchase a bunch of, you know, Radio Shack, not a Radio Shack,
not around
so we can say that.
That's fine.
We can say that without offending, but out of the body, you know, homeowner type systems, and so it is a bit more when we go that route, just because of the system that ties into.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item is some property declarations, transfer of real property and declaration of surplus property. Good morning, Todd.
Good morning, Commissioners. Todd Moser, Real Property Administrator, Division of Engineering. Transfer of real property and declaration of surplus property. Move to approve the acceptance of real property conveyance from Washington County Board of Education concerning the property consisting of plus or minus 28.04 acres located on the northeast side of Mount Etna Road. To adopt the ordinance declaring the property as surplus, to approve the conveyance of the same, and to authorize the execution of the necessary documentation to finalize the conveyance for $2.7 million to Meritus Medical Center, INC. The intent to convey the property was duly advertised July 31st, August 7th, and August 14th. Board of County Commissioners previously approved a MOU between the county, BOE, and Meritus on June 6, 2023 for the transfer of real property. The BOE has determined land behind Children's Village consisting of approximately 28.04 acres to be surplus property and unsuitable for construction of an elementary school and unnecessary for the continued operation of Children's Village. Meritus has agreed to acquire the surplus property to accommodate student housing for the new School of Medicine. BOE cannot by law convey any property to any entity other than the local government, and therefore the county must approve and accept the conveyance of property from BOE, convey the property, and be a party to the MOU. The county will contribute $2.7 million to the county's capital reserve fund for BOE's use and its sole discretion to acquire land for new school construction, for the school building construction, or renovation projects. The state of Maryland must also approve the proposed disposal of surplus property. Any questions?
So where's the 2.7 million going?
$2.7 million is going to the county's capital reserve fund for B's use and its sole discretion.
Thank you.
Other questions and comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is property acquisition for Hopewell Road.
Again, Todd Moser, Real Property Administrator, Division of Engineering. Move to approve the option agreement for partial property acquisition, including fee simple and/or easements for 11120 Hopewell Road and tax ID 22-02000512, map 48, parcel 31, and to approve an ordinance approving said purchase and to authorize the execution of the necessary documentation to finalize the acquisition. Properties were appraised and the option agreement has been signed by the property owner. Again, the property location, 11120, that's a discrepancy there. What I have, the address above is correct, 11120, and tax ID 02000512. Total fee simple acquisition consisting of 27,377 square feet, and then a temporary construction easement totaling 15,434 square feet for an acquisition cost of $30,000. The Hopewell Road realignment and culvert work in this area are part of the Wright Road Appalachian Regional Commission project.
Questions, comments?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you, 5-0. Property acquisition for Crystal Falls Drive.
Again, for the record, Todd Moser, Real Property Administrator, Division of Engineering. Move to approve the option agreements for partial property acquisition and conveyance of existing right-of-way, including fee simple and easements for 12143 Crystal Falls Drive and tax ID 07009151, map 40, parcel 63, and approve an ordinance approving said purchase and to authorize the execution of necessary documentation to finalize the acquisition. Option agreements have been executed for the two above stated properties. Fee simple and easement acquisitions are shown in the table below. First, 12143 Crystal Falls Drive. Fee simple area consists of 474 square feet. Easement area, which is 7,207 square feet. Total acquisition cost $1,800. Second property, tax ID 07009151. Fee simple area is 115 square feet, and a temporary construction area consisting of 1,306 square feet. Perpetual drainage easement area, 3,281 square feet. Total acquisition cost for that property is $2,200. This is for a federal aid bridge replacement project. Crystal Falls Bridge over Beaver Creek is located near the town of Smithburg, approximately 1/2 mile south of the intersection of Maryland Route 66 and Maryland Route 77.
Motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion is second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Motion to go into closed session for the reasons stated.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, 5-minute recess.
Thank you.